Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Roo Hammer, Season 3, Episode 41. Thanks all you guys for joining us on Facebook and on YouTube. As always, before we get started, just a massive shout out to our wonderful Patreon supporters and all you awesome people that have bought some merchandise from us from Redbubble. Your support goes a long way and enables us to bring our visual presentation via Restream. Mate, birthday boy in the house. Hammer, how you going? How did you enjoy your birthday?
Yeah, mate, another year older. Mate, I'll tell you now, because you're a couple of years, you're about 9 years away from this. But once you turn 50, then they just all meld into one. It's no, it's good. I got to see the kids, or the three of them that live here in Sydney. Actually, on Tuesday. Yeah, it was good. But I'm looking forward to this episode. I've been keen for this. Since we worked out a time and a date, really keen doing these things. It's the one thing that sets us apart from all the other Warriors webcasts. Those former and current players. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. This one's extra special for us, as you know, we're huge advocates of acknowledging the history of the club and our former players. Just before we do get into it, just a reminder, everyone that's tuned in tonight, the reason that we do the show live is to get your involvement. So all you guys watching, please, as we move through the discussion points, join the conversation, leave any comments and or questions as well. And please do be aware that we do have the current and ex-players and their families watching the webcast. So please keep your comments respectful and refrain from making them personal.
Correct.
And why don't you introduce our special guest while I add into the live feed?
I would love to, mate. Okay, so tonight's guest played 123 NRL games over 10 seasons at 4 clubs, which included 2 seasons at the Warriors. He played 40 games for the club. He scored 33 NRL tries, including 10 at the Warriors. He's a live wire hooker. He was named the Warriors 2000 Player of the Year. Welcome to the chat, Warrior 68, Robbie Mears. Hey, Robbie, how are you? Thanks for joining us, mate.
Hi, boys. No, pleasure to be
here. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. We'll go right back to the very start of your rugby league journey, where it all began. Can you tell us where you grew up and who your junior club was?
Yeah, sure. Well, I grew out at a place called Escole Park, which is out Campbelltown, and my first actual under sixes was for a place called Macquarie Fields Hawks.
Mac Fields. Now, I did some research. Tell me if I'm right, because my research said that obviously you're a West junior.
Yes.
You played at a few junior clubs over the years. You played at the Ingleburn Bulldogs, the Eaglevale St Andrews, Campbelltown Kangaroos, and Austral Rams. Is that correct?
I don't know where they got the Ingleburn Bulldogs from, but I never played there. But the other clubs are correct. Yes.
All right. So all in the Western Suburbs district. Did you support the Magpies growing up?
I was a Parramatta supporter growing up, actually.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Another thing, you attended St Greg's Campbelltown, which is a great nursery for rugby league talent, and they were a huge rugby league powerhouse back in those days. What was it like playing footy for them, and were you a boarder or were you a day student?
No, I was a day student. I actually got the privileges of a boarder. I'd study there once school had finished. We trained football. I'd study. Once the study was finished, I'd then travel home.
Okay.
I only lived about 5 minutes from the school.
Yeah.
In 1992, you were selected to play Australian schoolboys to a tour of New Zealand with guys like Steve Menzies, Matt Sears. That must have been exciting getting selected.
Oh, it was quite a buzz. You sort of, I think, coming through as you get a little bit older, you start to think football might be an opportunity to make a career out of, and to be selected with. There was a few boys that went on to play some first grade, but it was a great experience.
On that tour, though, the Aussies lost their first ever tour match to a Kiwi side that featured Ruben Wiki and a couple of your future teammates, actually, Gene Namu and Big Joe Vungana. Do you remember that game?
Yes. I think it may have. I think we've been on 24-22, I think, in the first test. I'm just trying to think where we played. I'll pronounce the suburb wrong where we were. I just remember on the side of the field there was I won't call it a grandstand because it was like a hill. I think it started with T. No, I won't pronounce it because it's wrong. But yes,
Okay.
yes. I wasn't. It might have been Carlaw Park. They beat us at. I can't remember. But yeah, they give us a bit of a thumping. They were a pretty big team.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they're some big boys. Mate, in 94, you joined the Roosters, the Eastern Suburbs Roosters, as they were called back then. Do you remember your first grade debut?
Starting or off the bench?
No, off the bench, just your debut.
Yeah, either.
Your debut game.
All right. Well, if you searched up Wikipedia, they'll tell you I come off the bench against Cronulla, but in actual fact, I got 10 minutes in 1993 at the Sydney Football Stadium against Parramatta.
Really?
Yeah, I got 10 minutes. I got to play Paul Dunn, Brett Kenny. So obviously Kenny was one of my idols growing up. But yeah, it's on Wikipedia. I don't know. It says 94, but back then you used to have about, if you played under 21s reserve grade, you could have about 15 fellas sitting on the bench.
Sitting on the bench, yeah.
They'd name 2 freshies, and as soon as you knew 4 blokes went on the bench, everyone then could go have a shower because you knew you weren't getting used. So I got about 10 minutes. Gary Freeman actually was my halfback. He was playing halfback that day for
Roosters.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my actual 10 minutes of.
Well, through the cracks.
Yeah, and it's not Wikipedia. We get a lot of our stuff rugby league wise from Rugby League Project.
Right. Okay. Yep.
And they've got that wrong too. So they haven't got that listed. Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. You played 4 games in that debut season of 94, we'll say.
Yes.
Do you remember your first NRL try?
Yes, I do. It was against the Gold Coast, last round of the game.
Yep.
I think it was a couple of minutes ago. I just come back on the field. I got split, making a tackle, come back up. Phil Good was the coach. He just come in, took over, and I managed to get the match winner try with, I don't know, somewhere within 10 minutes to go.
That was your first start too.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Good. They got that right.
Mate, you played 4 games in 95 and 2 in 96 for the Roosters. Stuck behind Roosters captain Sean Garlick. You moved clubs to the Bulldogs in 97. Obviously looking for more game time. Yeah,
the opportunity came. Shawnee Garlick was obviously first grade captain there at the club. He was playing good football. Got the opportunity to come over to Canterbury. I think at the time with my manager, was speaking to about 3 other clubs. Took the opportunity to go to Canterbury, and 97 played half the season in first grade. 98, I had to end up having the Australian hooker in front of me, Jason Hetherington. So, that was made it a bit difficult, but he was Jace was a great player, so I got to stick behind him for a little while.
That 97 season was that split competition, ARL and Super League.
Yes.
Being a young rookie around that whole lead up to Super League, what do you remember about that time? Was there a lot of confusion in terms of, because we only got the information that was in the media, and a lot of it was just talking about money and the division between the two. What do you remember at that time?
Well, I can't say when I say I was playing the lower grades at the time, so it's the first grade boys were the boys that were getting a lot of money, you know what I mean? So for me, it didn't really affect me in that way, as if to say, like all the boys got on fine. It was just a matter of, I suppose, the hierarchy deciding who was going to run the game and stuff like that. So, like, I left the Roosters. They were an ARL team, so I went to Canterbury, and that was a Super League. Obviously, Super League, and I just played out my year. So for me personally, it didn't really affect me that too much in regards to what was happening up with the first grade players.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, you went to the Bulldogs and you stuck behind Jason Hetherington, who became the Queensland hooker in 1998. However, you did play 10 first grade games in that 97 season. including your first finals game. So how was that experience at the Bulldogs?
Yeah, it was really good. They trained hard. Like, there was a eye-opener training-wise going from the Roosters at that time. I think it was sort of 95, it started to become professional. When I first went to Canterbury, they brought us in a month earlier to get up to scratch, so when the first grade boys come up, and we got introduced to the rowing machine. Couple of big runs, got introduced to riding the bike along the M5 freeway there. It was certainly a step up in training, which I've used all through my career. So, but they were like all the clubs I played at. They were good. They were obviously, everyone knows they're a family club. They're a good club.
Yeah, as you said, your opportunities at the Bulldogs were scarce because you were behind the current Australian hooker in Jason Hetherington. You do, however, you're a member of the winning reserve grade premiership team that year. That must have been a pretty awesome feeling to win the reserve grade grand final.
Yeah, it was. 97, in reserve grade, we won the grand final as well, but I was up playing first grade. So Penrith knocked us out, I think, by a field goal in the end at Belmore. But yeah, there was a couple of first graders playing reserve grade at the time too. Simon Gillies was our captain at the time.
Yep.
Mitch Newton was playing there. Duncan McRae, Hazem El Masri, Shifty Sherwin, Brent Sherwin was in the team. We had a pretty good team.
Yeah.
Yeah, 99, you moved to the Ourimbah Magpies in the Central Coast competition. Your form was good enough to make the country first team in the curtain raiser to the Anzac Test, where your performance got you noticed and signed by the Warriors. Can you tell us how all that came about?
Yeah, that was unexpected. I just at the time, I was going to say doctor. Deefy's jaw was broke. I'd only ever played against Jace at this time. And I got a phone call. I can still remember it to this day. I played a game for Ourimbah, which is obviously up the Central Coast. I drove down to my nan's house, which was down in Campbelltown. And there was my nan come into my bedroom and woke me up at about 7 a.m, and she said, "There's a gentleman on the phone from the Auckland Warriors." And I'm saying, "Who knows I'm here?" So I got out, and it was Trev McEwen. He's and then they must have had me on loudspeaker because Huey McGann was also there.
Yep.
So I had to, that morning, I drove back up to Newcastle, got my passport done on the day, and then I flew out. So Trevor picked me up from the airport at 11 o'clock at night. The next, on the Tuesday, I was on a plane the next day, and then we played the Canberra Raiders that weekend. That was how quick it happened.
Man,
that's surreal.
Yeah. It was unbelievable. It was, I'll never forget it. I just remember, who knows I'm here? And I didn't know who Trev was. Hugh, at the time, Huey, I'd met at the Roosters. And then so it was sort of a little bit of a comfort zone that I knew someone. And so I just remember you'll be playing first grade this week. So it was surreal. I couldn't believe it was happening. So that's how it sort of unfolded.
Tell us, mate, moving from Newcastle or the Central Coast in New South Wales to Auckland, what were your first impressions of the Auckland winter?
Yeah, I found it rained a lot.
Yeah,
that's one thing I had to get used to. I always remember it being wet. So that was probably a big difference. A little bit. It was a little bit colder, but it rained a bit more.
As as you said, you were straight into first grade against the Raiders because of injuries to Sid Eru and the Doc. So you made your Warriors club debut 99 round 11 against the Canberra Raiders. What was that like, and what was your first impressions of playing at Mount Smart?
I obviously playing at Mount Smart. Obviously didn't play there 2 years. I loved playing at Mount Smart. The first time I went out, it was I think up to that stage the Warriors weren't having a good season. I remember picking the paper up because obviously I was new to the club, and obviously I'd come in, and so I remember picking the paper up, and I think we'd won one home game in 7 or something like that. So I was a little bit daunted. It was certainly great to run out onto the field. It was like sort of a pinch myself type moment. From the game, I remember Laurie Daly running straight over me and scoring under the post. I didn't want to get up. I remember Matty Ridge picked me up off the ground, and I'm not worried about it. And then, I was lucky enough to score a try that day, and I think we won. We ended up winning. We got a penalty right towards the end of the game and right in front of the sticks, and Ridgie knocked it over. I think we won by 2, maybe 24-22.
32-30.
Oh, sorry, I can't remember the score. But I can remember Simon Wolford leading up against the post, and obviously they were disappointed, but very happy to get the win. That was it was certainly a great feeling, and a great feeling after the game.
Absolutely. Mate, you played every remaining game that season, including the round 25 victory over a finals-bound Newcastle Knights, winning that game 42-0 on a cold and rainy Auckland afternoon. Yourself, the Doc, and fellow mid-season transfer Johnny Simon played a starring role that Arvo. What do you remember about that game?
One of the first things I do remember is I remember Johnsy calling Ali got the ball, and he kept saying left foot, left foot, left foot, and Ali stepped off the right, and I think that might have been his second try that night. So I do remember that. That was quite funny. I think Logan might have made like 55 tackles that game. It was certainly an enjoyable game to be a part of. Like it was wet and slippery, but we weren't expecting that because I know that they were getting ready for, obviously they had semi-final football.
Yeah.
And I remember, the score line, and I think they might have went out pretty quick actually in the semi-finals.
I think they did.
They did. I think it was also Stacey's 100th game, or it might have been his 150th game. But there was a milestone. It was back then. That was one of the best wins we'd ever had, if not the best win we'd ever had.
Oh, it was great. And that might have been, I think, the first time I seen a sign. I think it might have been for Mecky. Of Stacey, and I remember asking at the time, "What's that mean?" or something like that. It was, So it was certainly it was a great game to be part of.
Yeah,
absolutely. So the final game of the 99 season is a then club record 60-16 win over the Western Suburbs Magpies at Campbelltown in their the Magpies' last ever premiership game.
Yes.
What was that like for you personally, being a Western Suburbs junior?
Yeah, that was they were going through a bit of a bad patch, I think, at that time.
Yeah.
I think they copped a couple of hidings. And it was good to get to play in front of, because I got an opportunity for my family to come and watch. My nan and pop, like my mum, and there was a couple of relays got the opportunity to come out because it was close to home. So wasn't coming out to the scoreline to be like that, but because I remember at the start they came out the gates pretty physical, and they were whacking us a fair bit. But that year, especially 99, we were playing some really good footy. I think we missed the semis by 2 points, I think, in the end. I think the only teams that we didn't beat that year might have been Brisbane and Melbourne.
Yeah.
I know we come close to beating Melbourne down a player. I think Ridgie got sent off early. I think they only beat us just marginally, but 99 was a real good season for us, especially the way we were finishing.
Yeah, when we had Joe Vungner on, we asked him about his try scoring, and he could remember every try he scored because I think he only ever scored 3. You scored 4 tries for the Warriors that debut season at the club. You said your first was against the Raiders in your first game. Do you remember the other 3?
The first year. Was Cronulla Sutherland that year? Was Cronulla Sutherland?
Yep.
Yeah, round 20.
I know I scored. I think I scored against Parramatta.
No.
I'm just trying to think. I know I got one against Newcastle up at there, but that was the following year.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. Okay,
so
you got me.
Canberra round 11.
Yes.
Penrith round 15.
Penrith round 15. Oh, okay, yep.
Canberra again, round 18.
Was that? I mean, that was the year they is that when they come out and give us a bit of a toweling?
Might have been,
yeah.
I remember we were leading early once at Canberra. I think it was like 18-6 just before half time, and I think it ended up. Yeah, I think it might have ended up close.
I don't think it's pretty.
Robbie, we're Warriors supporters. We're so used to leading 18-6 and getting run down by other teams. We don't know. Yeah, it happens every year. For us. And the last one, as he said, was the Sharks round 20.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that one was under the sticks.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was looking at a picture of it before.
We were.
Yeah. The side, as you touched on, the side finished the 99 season, 5 wins from the final 6 games of the season. As you mentioned, I think the only loss was against Melbourne by 2 points. Going into the 2000 season, that must have given the squad a lot of belief.
Yeah, we had a few new signings. I remember I think we played Melbourne. Might have been Melbourne or Roosters first up. And I think we beat both of them. I think
Melbourne, yeah.
It was like the confidence that we're taking out and a couple of signings. I think we're looking forward to the 2000 season, but just unfortunately didn't eventuate.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, unfortunately, the on-field performances, they didn't live up to the expectations from the previous year. But the off-field financial dramas really overshadowed the on-field performances. What are your memories of this really tumultuous time in the club's history?
Yeah, it was disappointing. For whatever reason, the administration side and stuff like that. I just remember, I think the Tainui, they were the owners, and I'm not sure exactly what had happened, but I know that there was a small payout for players, and it was a bit of tough times because I think it happened around July, I think, and your contracts go through to November, the end of October. So it was disappointing to see. I had 2 great years there. I loved it there, and it was disappointing to see how it was unfolding off the field.
Yeah, Eric Watson came in and he purchased the key assets of the club, but the player contracts weren't considered to be club assets, and obviously many players were released and had to fight to get the money they were owed. Not without getting too personal, did that affect you personally? Did you have to fight to get what was owed by the club? And as you said, you had 2 years at the club. Was it your choice to leave, or were they kind of showing you the door?
No. There was an offer made at the time, and I think back now. And at the time, the manager that I had, Joe Varganar, and I had the same manager. It affected me because the season was brought forward that year because that was the Sydney Olympics as well.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's right.
It started in February.
Yeah. So the season finished a lot earlier, and so I came back to Australia at the time. I was concreting. I was concreting with a family friend, because obviously you got bills and that whatnot to pay. So and at that stage, until they worked out what was happening with the club, and I think at the same time, South were looking to get back into the comp around that time. I think they were coming back in, but an opportunity come and. So I ended up signing with the Leeds Rhinos, and Joey signed with Bradford Bulls, and we went over to England. Yep.
Well, in contrast to the off-field dramas, you had your best season ever, playing all 25 games of the season, starting the first 3 as halfback, and then every other game as hooker, forcing the regular hooker, the good doctor, to the lock forward position. You must have been extremely happy with your own form that season, though.
Yeah. I certainly played some really good football. Like I thought, like the boys I was playing with, I had 2 real enjoyable years when I was at the Warriors. Living over there and coming to work, I wouldn't really call it work because I loved being there. It was a really good time, and I certainly did play some good football. Enjoyed it. It was a funny thing because in part, I suppose, I felt like I was sort of in one way representing New Zealand because I know you're playing for the Warriors, but you are the sole New Zealand team. So that's why I think like every time you ran out on the Mount Smart Stadium, it was certainly something that I wanted to perform good for.
Interestingly, mate, you played 40 games for the club, as I said when we introduced you. During your 2 seasons, they were all consecutive. So you didn't miss a game at the Warriors from the time you started till the time you left. So you came at round 1199, finished in round 26 2000, 40 consecutive games. Obviously, consistency was the key, and that consistency saw you rewarded for a great season, winning the Warriors Player of the Year, which was obviously a huge honour. Do you mind grabbing those few things that you showed us before we went live, mate, just to show the people that are watching?
Yeah, this will also answer our good mate TK's question.
Yeah,
he asked during the week. He said, "Does Robbie still have the carvings?" So here's the proof.
Okay, so these are very special to my heart. So they sit up the top. So they're both exactly the same. I'll go that way.
Yep.
So obviously, supporters Player of the Year. Forward of the year. I suppose this might be the.
Yep.
So
look at that.
Look at that.
Hang on, which way do I go? That way.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's quite heavy actually. I think it's made of bronze. So it's it's with pride up on my mantelpiece. So I can bring it in there for you. So
that's sensational, isn't it?
That's fantastic. The first time we've ever seen such an award on Roo Hammer. That's brilliant.
Yeah. No, I'm very lucky.
Yeah, for sure. Brilliant. While we didn't get the results in 99 to 2000, Mark Graham was able to debut a lot of young talent that went on the staff of the club during the golden run of like 2001 to 2003. You unfortunately just missed. What do you remember about playing alongside then no-names such as guys like Clinton Torpey, Francis Melly, Warangi Korpu, Ali Lauatiti at that time was relatively unknown?
Yeah, no, they certainly they've gone on to represent their country and play some great football. Just remembering they were a bunch of kids when I first got there. They were all like 18, 19, just full of energy. And I'll probably backtrack. I remember I was at Wyong Leagues Club before I went over, and that's the first time I saw Warangi Kupu. And he looked like, I just remember watching the game, and he's got this flock of hair.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there going, gee, he looks wild, this bloke. And then next minute I'm playing with him. 2 weeks later I'm playing with him, and I ended up living with him for like basically a year and a half. And I thought, how funny is that? But they were good young boys, and they developed into like great footballers.
Wairangi's still playing.
Yeah, I seen a post the other day. Facebook's a wonderful thing. It feels like
isn't it?
So, He might have been. Was he playing with someone else as well? I know.
I'm not sure who he was playing with, but I know he was playing this year. But mate, the guy's got to be he's got to be 40, mid-40s at least.
Yeah, I reckon about 43.
Yeah, he'd be somewhere around there. He wouldn't be. Yeah, I'd say between 40 and 43.
Yeah.
He's like Cliff Lyons, isn't he? Just won't give it away. Mate, you obviously enjoyed your time at the club. And during your tenure there was quite a few other Aussies that were there, such as Ivan Cleary and the Doc, John Simon, Big Tooks,
Yes.
Lee O'Ryan. And we've had guys like Brent Tate and Pricey, PJ Marsh and Michael Luck come on, and they all talk really fondly of the club. And before we went live, you were kind of echoing those sentiments. What is it about the club, do you think, that has this effect on Aussies that come over there to play for the club?
Yeah, I can't answer for the other boys. I can only answer for myself. I just found the people of New Zealand really welcoming. I loved living over there. It was really good. And I think maybe because you are the only New Zealand team, you know what I mean? There's you've got a bit of pride there, you know what I mean? You want to do well.
Yep.
And like I said, you're not just it's New Zealand Warriors now, you know what I mean? And you're representing the country each week you take the field. So, but yeah, no, I just found that when the staff, the people at the club, and yeah, everyone was really welcoming. So, yeah, that's all I can say in regards to it.
When we had Michael Luck on, he said that his happy place was a cold and wet Mount Smart Stadium at 3:00 on a Sunday afternoon. Mate, prior to COVID, the club has recruited quite a few Aussies in the past 3 years because we've been based here in Australia. But when we're based in New Zealand, we've struggled to recruit some really good Aussie talent in the past, 5 or 10 years. What would you say to someone who was considering the move to Auckland, having done it yourself?
Yeah, it's a great experience, and you're only in the end you're 3 hours from home. It's a quick 3-hour flight, so it'd be just for me driving up to Newcastle. Obviously, you know what I mean. That's probably a bit of a stretch because you do obviously have to board a flight and stuff like that. It's but it's not always windy. It's not always cold. I know a couple of times we'd have great weather during the week, and you'd speak to the Aussie boys after the game, and they go, "How do you play this every week?" And you go, "Mate, if you're here Monday to Friday, it's beautiful." So it decides it wants to rain half hour before kickoff. But it's and the country's beautiful, so there's always something to do and to get round. So it's, for me, I say it's a lovely place to live.
Yeah.
Awesome. As you mentioned before, season 2001, you head to the UK for a season in the Super League with the Leeds Rhinos. How did you find the ESL different from the NRL? Yeah,
it's a different brand of football. They and if you still watch it now, obviously, probably sides over here are very defensive orientated. Work a lot on the ruck and stuff like that. So they're probably a bit more second phase type sort of stuff over there. Back then they were a bit heavier. I don't know if it's to do with the weather, and they carried probably a little bit more fat on them, I suppose, to keep them warm. Big boys. I think back then it was, if you were in the strong clubs, there was a sort of a big difference between the stronger clubs to the weaker clubs. You were expected to win when, at the Leeds, I think they compare Leeds to, say, Manly, Warringah, everyone, they're the rich club, the Rhinos. But if you're playing a lesser club, they're expecting you to win every time. So, yeah, it was. It's a different style of football.
You come back to the NRL in season 2002. Effectively going home, signing with the West Tigers. How did that all come about for you?
I just happened to have, when I was at Leeds, I just happened to have a bad run of injuries. The first game I played for them, I broke my collarbone, so I was out for 7 weeks. And then 2 weeks before the semi-finals, we were playing St. Helens, and I got hit off the ball and by a gentleman, Sonny Nicol. He's the front row forward.
Oh, Sonny.
I got hit from behind, and my jaw was broken. And if you got time, they brought me into the dressing sheds because I got knocked out, and they had a towel around my head, and I was sitting in the shower, just the big showers they had there, and they said, "Robbie, do you know where you are?" And I looked at him, the doc, and I was visualising driving out of Mount Smart Stadium to get because I live right next to the racecourse there.
Ellerslie.
Yep. So I was trying to remember how to drive there to give them my address. So that was the only question they asked me, and I wasn't able to answer it. So I got broke into 4 times while I was there. I was having a bit of a bad trot, and Brett Mullins and Bradley Clyde were my teammates, and they were coming back home. And at the time, I just went, I think I've had enough. So that's how I ended up coming back. So when I came back, I didn't have a club.
Okay.
And then I met Terry Lamb. He coached me in reserve grade there at Canterbury. And and then that's where I got my opportunity. Went in, had a meeting, and signed with the Tigers.
Yeah, mate, you spent 3 seasons at the Tigers. How did you enjoy that time of your career?
Yeah, no, it was good. It was close to home, obviously living wise and stuff like that. So, it was good back playing in the NRL. I think the closest, Tim took over as coach, and I think we might have finished 9th. I think it was like 2 seasons. We finished just out of the 8 there, me 3 years there. Yeah,
and you got to witness firsthand the start of 2 great NRL careers there as well, in Benji Marshall and Robbie Farah. What were they like as fresh-faced rookies?
Yeah, it's I remember Benji come up, and Tony Carroll had come back and played for the Broncos, and Benji made his debut. I think that was up at Lang Park, and I'd never actually beat the Broncos up until that stage in my career. And I remember Benji wrong-foot and Tunza come out to put a shot on him, and he sort of got left in. Benji scored, I think, but I think that was everyone learning his left foot step, and and Robbie was coming through at the time. I retired in 2004, and I think Darren Senna retired the same year, and and for Robbie, and then the boys went on and had a great career.
Yeah. You leave the Tigers, as you said, at the end of 2004. You head back to the UK for a season at the Leigh Centurions. Watching from abroad, did the success of the 05 Tigers surprise you, or could you see the signs of that ultimate success during your time there?
No, they were coming through, and at the time, I think Tim had a few ideas in relation to coaching them, and I think a bit of flair with the young boys coming through, and a couple of the old boys that had been there for a while, and then obviously the addition of Scott Prince, obviously, as well. So it was obviously a good breeding for the players there. And then there was obviously a couple of the local boys. They won the SG Ball a couple of years prior, and they were coming through like with Bryce Gibbs, Liam Fulton, and Anthony LaFranchi, and Chris Heineken was there. So it was a good mix of both experience and youth coming through.
Yeah.
Mate, just to go back to your time at the Warriors, Mark Graham was an absolute legend of New Zealand Rugby League and Hammer's favourite player growing up. Still his favourite player of all time, actually.
Yep.
How did you find Mark Graham as a coach?
I love playing for Mark. He was a hard man, a great man, and I really respected him. I really enjoyed playing for him under him while I was there. So, yeah, I can't speak highly enough of Mark. I really warmed to him and thought he was a really good coach, and he wanted the club to succeed while he was there.
Are you friends with him on Facebook, mate? He's on Facebook.
Yes.
He comments on a lot of our stuff. He was quite happy when he saw that we had you on.
Yeah.
Mate, speaking of coaches, let me just go through it. So at the Roosters, you started off, you had Mark Murray.
Yes.
And then Phil Gould.
Yes.
And then at the Bulldogs, you had Chris Anderson and then Steve Folkes.
Yes.
At the Warriors, it was Mark Graham. And then at the Tigers, it was Terry Lamb and Tim Sheens. That's a pretty impressive resume of coaches you've had along the way. Some good players as well. All of them different personalities and different styles. Was there one particular coach who stood out above all the others as a coach that really contributed to your game and got the best out of you personally within your game?
Every coach had like a bit of an input. I took what I could out from each coach. I like playing for Mark. I'm not just saying that because we're here talking about the Warriors and that's where we played off. I really enjoyed it. I wanted to do good for Mark every time I took the field. Not saying I didn't want to do that for all the others. They all have their different aspects and what they bring. Gus was really good at getting you ready to play, getting you ready for the occasion. Tim's always talking, thinking football. So it was always good. They'd find ways to push you to try to make you get better. So that was really good. Steve Folkes, unfortunately, he's not here with us anymore, but he could still train with you now. That's how he was. He's one of the fittest blokes I'd ever seen. So you respected him in that hindsight, that he's not one of those blokes that would just say, right, I need you to do this, or if you're going out for a flog session, he could actually get out there with you and beat you. It was, so it's sort of hard to say. My soft spot would be for Mark. But I was very lucky, all good coaches. Even Bar was really good for me when I was at Canterbury. Really enjoyed it as a reserve grade coach. He was really good.
Yeah, speaking of coaching, you yourself are now involved in it at Pathways level, coaching the West Tigers Harold Matthews Cup side this season. They went on to win the Harold Matthews Cup competition. So congratulations. That's an awesome achievement.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in the junior coaching program?
Well, I'd actually got into it about 12 years ago. I got into the wasn't called Pathways back then, just with the West doing the development with their under 12s and 13s, and just with work commitments, I had to make a decision. And at that time, I had to give it away for work. And then a friend of mine was involved with Wes. He was coaching the Harold Matthews, and he asked if I'd like to be interested. So, I gave it a crack. So I ran 2 years of blue shirt for him, and this year I got the opportunity to coach the team. And I can't complain. We had a very successful year.
Obviously, pretty keen to continue with that.
Yes, it's always been sort of in the back of my mind. I'd love coaching. I'd like to think that it's something I've got a bit of a knowledge about. And as you said, the experiences that I've had playing with certain players and the coaches that I've got, I feel like I've got a bit to offer. And who knows what might happen, but it's we'll just go with it and see what happens.
So a couple of comments. Sorry.
I'm just reading it now.
From our good mate, Matt Loader. So he says, boys, Robbie's son is a pretty handy hooker as well. He won a grand final a couple of weeks ago. Really small in stature, but drops all the players that run at him. Under 14s? Yes.
We had our grand final the other week. He's going all right. He watches me when I do the video and that with doing the Harold Matthews, and he comes to the training sessions when we can. He's going all right. I've got two boys. My youngest one, he's more of a front rower type shape sort of body.
Yep.
But they're both going all right. Elijah's going pretty good, so we'll just keep plodding away with them.
So how old is he? He's under 14s now.
Yeah, Elijah's, he's up at St. Greaves College. He's in year 8 this year. and Zaney's eats 10 in November, and hopefully he gets into St. Greg's as well. But yeah, 14 and under 14s and under 10s.
So a couple of years' time, if you're still coaching that Harold Matt side, he could be in that team you're coaching.
Oh, if he plays good enough, he might get a Guernsey.
Who knows, mate? You could be coaching the first grade side by then.
No, I think they're out for the next couple of years. They're taking care of themselves. So so a good experience and all going forward for the club.
Aside from coaching, mate, what else do you do? What does life look like for Robbie Mears?
Yeah, no, obviously I'm a police officer. I've been in the police force now for 15 years. And training wise, I try to keep myself fit. Some call it a cult. I do CrossFit probably in my days off, but most of it's usually around football if it's with Wes, and then obviously the local kids football. So that takes up a fair bit of my time.
Come on, mate. Give yourself a rap. Tell them about your CrossFit. What happened?
No. No, it's going all right. This year's had a bit of a back burner. Footy takes up a fair bit of time, so I just try to do it when I can at the moment.
Whereabouts are you based as a police officer?
For the last 3 years and a couple of days, I've been back out at Campbelltown. So I did six and a half years at Campbelltown, and I went into a specialised unit for about 7 years, and then I've been back out at Campbelltown for about the last 3.
Just so I know where I can drive fast around. That's all.
Okay, Robbie, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. We ask all of our guests while Hammer here just scrolls through the comments for some other questions. So this is just rapid fire questions. The first name that comes to your mind.
Doesn't have to be the Warriors either.
It doesn't have to be the Warriors. So think about your whole playing career. Who was your toughest teammate?
Toughest teammate. Back then, I'm trying to think. If I think of the Warriors, Rock was pretty hard. I remember Terry Hermanson. He was a hard man. Yeah, he was certainly a hard man.
Yeah. Toughest opponent.
Depending on what way, how would you class it as the toughest?
Who was it? Like maybe in your position, who was the guy that you, whenever you came up against him, it was always a battle, I guess. Brought the best out of you.
Oh, gee, I don't know. I remember Richard Swain was a good hooker. Swainey was a good hooker. There was a couple of boys. I played in an area where there's a lot of tough footballers. So it's hooker-wise, Swainey was pretty good as a hooker.
Yeah, Richie Swain. Yep. Who was the best sledger? When I come to the Tigers, Terry Hill was there at the time. He didn't mind a good sledge. I only got to play, I think, about 8 games with Reggie. I remember Reggie wasn't. I was going to say Reggie. Yep.
He was pretty good on the tongue as well.
Who was the biggest pest?
The biggest pest. Liam Fulton used to get up to a bit of nonsense.
I've heard about him. Yes.
Yeah. There was. I'd say Liam was at the Tigers.
Liam Fulton. Yep. Who was the most professional in regards to game preparation that you played with?
Oh, gee. I'm just trying to think now because obviously I got the fortunate to play at a couple of clubs. Scotty Sattler was pretty good when he came over from Penrith. He was pretty good. Sats. I'll say Sats.
Yeah. Who was the best trainer?
Bradley Clyde. I thought I trained pretty good. I'd like to think that, but when I played with Clyde in Leeds. Just to watch him train, he was outstanding.
I've heard that.
Yeah, we have. Team comedian.
Team comedian. I used to always find Lee Adenryan quite funny when I was at the Warriors.
All right.
You're certainly a unique man, Leroy.
Yeah, I've seen a podcast with him. He's got some funny stories, hey?
He certainly he was quite handy at a few things, and I'm sure he'd be happy to tell you as well, old Leroy. He was quite good. Backed himself as a chef as well.
Okay. Aiden Ryan.
Yeah.
Who was the worst trainer?
Oh, the worst. That's all right. I don't want to embarrass anyone.
That's all right. You don't have to throw anyone under the bus.
No. All right. Couple of questions, mate. Are you a superstitious guy? And if so, did you have any pre-game rituals or game day routine that you followed religiously?
Yeah, I will say I am superstitious. I never used to like to talk about it now, but now that I'm finished, it's not so bad. But I'd be pretty regimented in what I ate. Well, the night before a game, I'd always like ice cream and chocolate flavouring. Just something game day. 2 bowls of Cocoa Pops. Probably not the ideal preparation. It's just something I like to do.
Breakfast of champions.
Yeah.
But I'd always have my bag packed the night before a game in a certain way, and obviously the way that I got ready before I played, I'd have my same pair of Speedos. I was very funny because back, especially when I come to the Warriors, they used to wash your gear, like they take everyone's gear in. I used to take mine home because I'd like to make sure I got my socks next the following week. I didn't want one sock that might have been stretched a bit more than the other. So, yeah, game day I'd be a particular way how I'd got ready. It was pretty regimented.
We should have got you to wash Murchie's socks. Jack Murchie's socks. We found every time we watched him play at Redcliffe, he'd come out and his socks used to be a really funny colour.
They were like grey. They weren't blue. Yeah. Yeah, they were awful. Who was the biggest influence on your career?
Biggest influence? I don't know. I can't really say. I just used to... I'd try to take bits of information or footballers that I liked, and then I'd try to take them and make them my own.
Yeah.
Like as a kid growing up, I always wanted to play halfback. Like Peter Sterling was my hero growing up. That's Parramatta, and but then once I started to play hooker, Steve Walters, I used to love watching Boxhead play football. He was a tough footballer. It was. Yeah, it's sort of hard to say. I can't say anyone would jump out. I'd form relationships through my football career, and you get a mutual bond, and they were quite good.
Couple of questions here from Braden Kendall. Hey Robbie, who was your favourite NRL team?
I support the Warriors.
Nice one. Another one.
But you work for the Tigers.
Yeah, well, years are in years. Well, a bit hard to work for the Warriors. They're in New Zealand, so but
we'll take you.
Webby's going over. He's very astute. He's going to do a good job. I have no doubt. But at the moment, I've got an opportunity at the Tigers, so I'll make the most of
that. Do you have a prediction on the Rugby League World Cup?
No, it's quite interesting at the moment because obviously players are pledging their allegiance to other teams, so it's a little bit of a talking point over here. Yep. So I don't really know because, like internationally, I don't think Australia's played for like 2 or 3 years since COVID.
We're actually talking about that today. Yeah, they haven't played since 2019. Their last game was a loss to Tonga.
Yes, so I'd say the World Cup. It's certainly going to be up for grabs. It's going to be interesting footy to watch.
Oh, here's a great question from Matt Loader again. As a former player and now a successful coach, what's better for a footballer in regards to first grade? Biding their time and getting experience in the lower grades, or if they're good enough, then they're old enough?
Yeah, like I miss seeing the reserve grade under 21s coming through, especially going to watch a game on the weekend. You can watch a junior player develop as he comes through. I have no dramas. If he's good enough, he can play. I think a lot of times, and this is only my opinion, that sometimes people are rushed into first grade. I know. I've always thought, and I always say, forwards seem to develop a little bit later than what our outside backs will.
Yeah.
And I just, because you're in the engine room and the hits, if you're outside backs, you'll come in and you can take a hit and then you're back out. Whereas when you're in the forwards, it's a lot of impacts on the body because it's a different type of running and stuff like that. So sometimes, like I find like a forward, it mightn't be till like 24, 25, they start finding their straps to become regular first graders. It's whereas an outside back, he might get in at a bit of a younger age because the impacts on his body mightn't be as damaging, you know what I mean, as a young fella coming through.
Yeah.
It's just, and it all becomes development. I remember a bit of advice I got given early on was, if you're going to make first grade, it'll come. It'll be there. If you're going to play first grade, it'll be there. It just might mean at a particular time there's someone in front of you at that point in your career that, for whatever reason, they're in front of you, but don't be disappointed. Your opportunity will come, and when it does, you make the most of it. So
we've seen, especially at the Warriors, there's some guys have made their debuts before their time, and that's, maybe because of injury and stuff like that. And I'm talking about in the last, 5 or 6 or 10 years. And then it's almost as if they get itchy feet because they've got the taste of first grade, and then they get thrown back to reserve grade or wherever it is that they've got to play. And then we find that they piss off to another club because they're not getting the first grade. And they think that they're first grade standard. And then even when they go to those clubs, they're not making first grade, and they all end up heading over to England at some point. They can get a little, sometimes it's the players that get a little bit toey. And other times it's a club that just put them in when they're too soon before their time. But, injuries and that kind of force their hand at sometimes, do you think?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like everyone wants to play first grade, and you want your position every week. And sometimes you might have a bad game and you do have to go back to reserve grade. Bide your time, and when your opportunity comes, take it, you know what I mean? It's a learning curve. Early on, years ago, you used to get it. Occasionally, you'd be dropped back just to see how you'd handle being dropped back, and then to see what sort of attitude you develop. And then the biggest thing, I think, in any football is you don't want that cancer. And then if you go up next minute, you're spitting chips because you're not in first grade. Well, it might be a choice. Well, I'll prove the coach wrong. I am good enough to be there. Or it might be just a matter of, you've got a taste, go back, learn your craft, and when you come back up, you're ready to go again.
Question here: what was it like playing with Stacey Jones?
Yeah, I was lucky. He's a great player, Stace, and he was my roomie actually when I was at the Warriors. So when we'd come over to Oz, he was my roomie. He's a great bloke. We're trying to catch up this year, and it was just a matter of trying to work out when we could or whatnot. And then obviously the boys went back home, so so I didn't get that opportunity. So, but yeah, no, Stace he's a great player, and
he's a quiet man, isn't he? He's very reserved.
Yes, he is. Had plenty of funny times with Stace, but yeah, no, he was a good roomie, and he's certainly a great footballer.
Are you a Netflix fan? And if so, what do you recommend as a binge watch?
The Last Kingdom.
Oh yeah.
Yes, 5 seasons, so it's not like you have to watch it. It's not like a revolving door. Yeah, so it's I highly recommend that.
Okay.
I'm a bit of a Star Wars buff, so I like the Star Wars sort of the
well,
stuff in the Disney
you see,
Plus.
There's a new one that's come out, Andor.
Yes. If you jump on, the 3 episodes are already.
Yeah, I've just watched episode 1 when I got home to Savi. Yeah. Mate, I just want to really thank you for coming on and chatting with us. Rob and I, we absolutely love being able to connect with all our former players and give you guys a platform to, share your stories and tell your stories. And we've been very fortunate to be able to connect with so many over the past couple of seasons. We have a saying here on Roo and Hammer that those who have played for our club are forever and always, and Year Robbie Mears are forever and always Warrior 68. So thanks, brother.
Thanks very much. Honoured to be on. I've really enjoyed it. It's been great.
Thanks, Robbie. Really appreciate your time. Always good to connect with our former legends, especially one that's won Player of the Year at our great club. So thank you so much, and we'll stay in touch.
And now we know that you and I are practically neighbours. We'll catch up for a coffee soon, mate.
Anytime. Long as it's Campos, I'm a happy man.
No worries. Who's waving in the background?
That's Elijah. That's my 14-year-old.
Okay. I noticed he had his phone, so he might have been watching on the phone.
He probably is, because he was looking for it when he just said all his mates have been watching. So
good.
Awesome.
Tell him to follow us.
I'll get him to jump on. Don't worry.
Thanks, mate.
All right. Cheers, Robbie. Thanks for your time.
Anytime.
Cheers.
Thanks,
mate.
Bye, Elijah. Oh, mate. How awesome.
It's fantastic. As we always say, if you pull on the jersey once, twice, or 300 times, always part of the Warriors whānau, and it's great to chat with the legends. As I said, someone who's won Player of the Year, played his best footy at our club.
And those two jerseys, the one that you're wearing and the one behind you, they're the jerseys from 99, are they, mate?
2000.
2000.
So 2000 home jersey, and this was 2000 away. And before we went on, Robbie was telling us that this was actually his favourite jersey that he wore. So, I knew it'd bring back some memories for him. Yeah,
absolutely. And as I said to him, every time I see that red jersey, I think of him. He's the player that comes to mind whenever I see that red jersey. He was great.
Same here,
He was great for our club.
Yeah, John Simon.
No, that was a good chat. We actually tried to get Robbie on earlier in the year, and communication fell away. And then the date that we'd kind of tentatively booked, he messaged us that day and said, "Am I on tonight?" We're like, "No, we haven't got anything organised."
Yeah, we're just like, what have we stitched him up here, or have he stitched us up, or whatever it was? But all's well that ends well. Worked out.
Absolutely,
great chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mate. Yeah, we had some NRL played on the weekend as well.
Yes.
Rounds 2 of the finals. Friday night, Combank Stadium, Eels 40 defeating the Raiders 4. Massively dominant display from the Eels. They led 22-4 at halftime. The Eels dominated possession 59% to 41%. And Raiders with a season high 47 missed tackles. And Eels, they just starved the Raiders of the ball.
Yeah, they were good, the Eels. I actually tipped the Raiders in that one. I thought the Raiders were going to go through to face off against Cowboys this week. But, Eels came out. They were just on another level. It was a really good game to watch. And then Saturday we had the Rabbitohs at Allianz Stadium. Interesting that it's not their home ground, but they've played 3 games there now, 3 consecutive weeks.
Nick won't be happy with that, Uncle Nick.
No. What Latrell was calling it, what was he calling it? Latrellion Stadium or something like that.
Yeah.
Rabbits 38 defeated the Sharks 12. Much like the Eels, the Rabbits, they dominated the first half. They led 18-0 at half time. Sharks hit back with a second half try to give themselves an outside chance, but mate, the Rabbits, they just control possession and momentum swings to bundle the Sharks out in straight sets. Finished second, loss, and they're gone. Rabbits with a couple of injury concerns though out of this one. Alex Johnston, Saliva Havili, definitely not playing this weekend. Jai Arrow's under a bit of an injury cloud as well.
Yeah, exactly. And moving on to the NRLW, the final round was played on Sunday as a triple header at the Central Coast Stadium. All games, they had a bearing on the final ladder as well. So the Eels 28 over the Broncos 16. Massive surprise here. Eels winless going into this game, needing a victory for a chance to play finals. So 16 all, 10 minutes to play, and the Eels, they showed great resilience to take the game. First time the Broncos have missed the finals.
Yeah.
Amazing. And 4 new sides coming in next season. The Broncos, they'll need to make some really hard decisions on some players in their roster, recruit better than they did this season, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, they lost Tamika Upton and they lost Millie Boyle, and I really didn't think 2 players would have that big of an impact on their results. But, mate, they only won 1 game all season. It's kind of a weird one. Parramatta had not won a game all year, but their losses had only been by 2 points. So they only needed to win by 6 on the weekend to make the semis, and they did. Wow. And then they were sweating on the result of the Roosters Titans, because if the Titans won, the Titans would have jumped in. But, mate, the Roosters 38, they defeated the Titans 12. Roosters had already secured the minor premiership, but they would now remain undefeated. They've actually on a 7-game winning streak, the Roosters, back to last season, and they've won 9 of their past 10 games. So that's kind of Broncos like for the first 3 years, where the Broncos, didn't drop a game, or drop 1 game. I think it was against the Warriors in their first 2 seasons. The Roosters led 28-4 at halftime. Titans let down once again by their handling. They were just awful. Completed at like 62%. But Maddie Bartlett, she got 2 tries to finish the season as the all-time leading try scorer with 11. So I think she's 2. Yeah, she's 2 out in front of everybody else. There's a host of them on 8 and 9. Including Steph Hancock, front rower. Brad Inger will be happy about that.
Yeah. Doesn't she have to hand in her membership for the front rowers club?
Only if she kicks the field goal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll happen this week.
No, she's out. They're gone.
Well, she can't. Yeah. Oh, we're training then.
Yeah.
Final game, the Knights 30 defeated the Dragons 8, and the Knights finished the season with a win to take 2nd place. Dragons, they rested quite a few of their players. The result of this game, purely bragging rights, as both teams will face off again in the semi-finals this weekend.
Which are at Suncorp, I think.
Yeah. Massive day out at Suncorp on Sunday. So you've got the NRLW finals, then you've got the Prime Minister's 13 games as well, men and women.
Oh, is that this weekend?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Mate, NRL semi-finals coming up this weekend?
Yes, exactly. So we have on Friday night, massive clash up there, Queensland Country Bank Stadium. We've got Toddy's Cowboys up against the Eels. And Saturday, Panthers versus the Rabbitohs at Accor Stadium. And mate, 2 massive games. For me, I'm going to say it's going to be a Cowboys-Panthers grand final. The battle of the Warriors ex-coaches.
Mate, I was all for the Rabbits. I thought the Rabbits were the team that could probably knock the Panthers out. But I think they've got too many injuries now. And the Panthers would have studied their game plan. The Panthers' top 17 players have only played 1 game of footy in the past month because they missed the final round. They played the first game of the semis, and then they've had a week off as well. So
that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, they've like that's 17.
Not ideal.
No, but maybe you like coming in at this part of the season. As I said, the Rabbits are under injury cloud. They've been bashed and whatever the last couple of weeks. And I think the Cowboys will get the Eels up there at Country Bank Stadium.
The humidity. They're saying it's getting quite warm up there, and just like it got us back in 2007.
Yes. Yeah, I wonder if they'll make Parramatta wear black jerseys.
Yep.
We should ask Michael Luck about that.
Yes.
I'll message Lucky. I'll see if he can organise for the...
work something out.
Mate, and then, as you said, NRLW semi-finals this weekend at Suncorp Stadium, double header. We got the Knights versus the Dragons and the Roosters versus the Eels. Mate, I'm going to go for a 1-2 finish here. I'm going to pick the Knights over the Dragons and the Roosters over the Eels.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'd have to. The Roosters are just looking so strong. They're going to be so hard to beat again. And the Knights, I think, have been. I don't know if you'd say a surprise packet this year because they did recruit really well, but they've been strong all year, and I think they deserve to be there on grand final day. So I'll go for the Knights and the Roosters.
Absolutely. And if the Prime Minister's 11s are playing Suncorp as well, then we've got our boy Josh Curran picked in the Prime Minister's 11, so he'll be running around in an
Prime
Australian
Minister's
jersey.
13.
13, sorry, yeah. Prime Minister's 13. So he'll be running around in an Aussie jersey on the weekend. So congratulations to him and good luck to him.
Well deserved.
And a couple more Warriors running around this weekend, mate, in the Q Cup Grand Final for Redcliffe. They take on the North Devils, playing at the home of the Warriors, Moreton Daly Stadium.
Spiritual home of the Warriors.
Spiritual home of the Warriors. And, yeah, a couple of our Warriors squad. We've got Deja Nazi's playing in this game, Jackson Fry, Pride Patterson Rabadi, and Rocco Berry is also picked in that squad. So good luck to those boys in their grand final. And I know some of the boys like who have had a taste of Q Cup with Redcliffe this week, like Aaron Panay and so forth. They'll be out there cheering the boys on. So yeah, if you're up on southeast Queensland and you got nothing to do this weekend, there's some great footy happening at both Suncorp and Moreton Daly Stadium.
Yes, exactly. If you want to get out and see some more footy, can't get enough of it, then head on out. Upcoming live chats and events. Next Thursday, we are going to have a very special show. Once again, we'll be joined by our great mates Brad and Richie from the Standoff for a special show where we're going to discuss our Warriors' greatest ever 17. This topic comes up a fair bit, but we thought it'd be really great to do a show around this. So we want all you guys, all our regulars, anyone who's watching, get your greatest Warriors 17 together and make sure that you got it ready to comment on the show next week.
Yep.
Our Warriors, so we're going to do our Warriors greatest ever 17, our Warriors favourite 17. So there's going to be no crossover between our greatest and our favourite. But
Correct.
Your favourite would be just a bunch of players that you really loved that played for the Warriors.
Yep.
That should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yep.
That's going to be great. So as I said, you guys join the conversation during the week, post it, or if you want, just save it for the show. Comment your teams. It'll be great to see everyone else's point of view and perspective and taste on players. So looking forward to that.
And we're also going to do the an all Aussie Warriors lineup as well. That's been called for quite a few times.
Yes.
So we're going to do a 1-17 Aussie players only in a Warriors lineup, which should be fun.
As we are Warriors-based, Australian-based Warriors fans, so that would be great. And there's actually a lot of players to choose from.
Just to add to that too, mate, we're going to do our NRL Team of the Year as well, our 2022 NRL Team of the Year. We're going to pick a Team of the Year each, and we're going to try and come up with a Rookie Team of the Year as well. Yep. So it should be a bit of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to that, as I said. We're going to continue as well to make those connections with the former players and bring you more head-to-head interviews that you'll enjoy, like tonight. We have Warrior 109, Tony Martin. He's scheduled for Thursday the 13th of October. And we're in final discussions, lock-in dates with Louis Anderson and Dallin Watane-Zalesniak, and more guests to be announced soon. So keep checking out our socials, and we'll be announcing it on there.
Absolutely. And as the beginning of the show, Rob did a shout out to our Patreon subscribers whose support helps us bring this content for you guys. And we are on Patreon. It's $3 a month, which is a basic level. And we just want to give a quick shout out to those that have subscribed to our Patreon program. Daniel Delore, Peregrine Falconer, Sean Kurzweil, Fabian Maroa, Stevie Williams, Christian Catley, Alf Tuolave, TK Harris, Ted Clark, Inamete, Lisa Marie Bateman, Ken Wills, Nigel Phillips, Kane Fraser, Jermaine Downs, Malcolm Earnshaw, Dennis Danzo, Siala Afamasunga, and Shane Massafau. We thank you all very, very much for your continued support.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, legends. And another great way that you can support us and get yourself some sweet merchandise is to head to our Roo Hammer Redbubble store. So the link is on your screen there. And there you can get T-shirts and hats and all sorts of different merchandise, but mainly the T-shirts. They're our specialty. Designs with former players, past players, present players. collages. We got a captain's T-shirt. We got T-shirts commemorating great games like the Blackout and the 2008 semi-finals. So, yeah, make sure you check that out if you want to get some unique merchandise. Past players like Ruben Wiki, Simon Mannering, Clinton Torpey. We've even got a Reece Walsh shirt. If you miss him already, you can go in and get yourself a Reece Walsh shirt. The great man himself, his name came up a few times tonight, Mike Doreen. So if you want to rep some Mike Doreen merchandise, jump onto our Redbubble store.
Caden was saying that he said, Robbie, is Mike Doreen your dad? I didn't see a resemblance to Mike Doreen at all.
No, and Mike Doreen got in the game very early, if that's the case.
Yes, absolutely. It was nearly a father and son playing together. Don't forget, guys, if you do miss any of our live shows, you can catch up on our Facebook page, going straight to our video section, or you can go to YouTube channel and catch up there. If you do go to our YouTube channel, make sure you like and subscribe. Click the notification so you don't miss any of our live stuff. The easiest way to find any of our stuff is to go to our link tree, which has direct links to each of our live guest interviews and special presentations. And if you're a podcast fan, you can catch all our episodes on our podcast platforms. And please head to our Roo and Hammer Instagram page where we upload content daily to keep our followers informed of any upcoming events, Warriors news, player movements, and all other Warriors-related content.
Well, that's it for tonight's show. Massive thanks to Warrior number 68, Robbie Mears, for joining us. What a fantastic chat, as they always are. So thank you to him for giving up his time, and I hope you guys all enjoyed it. And thank you to you guys watching who continue to support us at Roo and Hammer. Very much appreciated from us both.
Yes, absolutely. And everyone stay safe. Who am I going for this weekend? Go the Cowboys. Go the Panthers, and then go the Cowboys against the Giants on Monday in the NFL.
Ooh.
Go the Roosters, go the Knights, and I guess I'll say go the Aussie Prime Minister's 13. Sorry.
Prime Minister's 13, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go Joshy.
Go Joshy.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone.